Alright, my audience. Hey guys.
Hi.
Hey.
And this is my outline. There's the first page, second, and third. Martin Luther King Jr. is an American hero and one of the most well-known and respected nonviolent leaders in the world. His passion for justice and equality came across in his passionate speeches that inspired a nation towards change and against injustice. King's background in public speaking, through education and religion, along with his gift of using literary techniques to emphasize his speeches and his dramatic deliveries, put him on the path towards being one of the greatest orators throughout history. Martin Luther King Jr. remains one of the greatest speakers in history, and his speeches are still studied and quoted today. Dr. King's upbringing and cultural background helped him to become the great speaker he would be known as. Growing up, King had a background in education and theology. According to A&E Network's television, King graduated with a degree in sociology and later went on to theological seminary in Pennsylvania. He further went on to be awarded a PhD from Boston University. His upbringing and background in education helped him to develop his public speaking skills and realize his gift. As time progressed, King became a well-known public figure. According to the King Center, in 1955, King was elected as spokesperson for the Montgomery bus boycott. This was his first real public position and one of the first places he got to do some real public speaking and persuading. In 1957, King was elected president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Again, this pushed him as an emerging leader and as an emerging public speaker, in that this required more persuasion, and that led him to the style that would become, is that he persuaded people with his speeches, with his powerful speeches. After that, Dr. King became the leader of the American Civil Rights Movement. Through his speeches, he promoted nonviolent resistance and change. It was during this time in which he delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, along with other influential speeches, such as "Time to Break the Silence" and the speech at the Brown Chapel. This time is the time that most Americans are familiar with Martin Luther King, was that they associate him with civil rights, and this was the time that his public speaking really became his own, and he came into his own in public speaking. His powerful speeches and his dramatic deliveries were all throughout this time, and this is what he would be well known for. King had several speeches that are considered to be some of the greatest speeches and deliveries in history. According to Presentation magazine, Dr. King's most well-known and recognized speech is his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. This was given in front of the Lincoln Memorial at the March on Washington on August 28, 1963. It was given in front of an audience of approximately 250,000 people. This speech focused on racial equality and fighting for justice and integration for the different racial communities. This speech is definitely his most well-known, and this speech really displays his personal speaking style with his organizational and literary techniques. Another notable but lesser-known speech of King's is the "Time to Break the Silence" speech. According to Joseph Spence from E-Zine Articles, this speech was given on April 4th, 1967 at Riverside Church in New York City. This speech focused on the war in Vietnam and King's position against the war, and this speech was working to persuade his fellow clergymen on his position. This speech is well known not only because of its persuasive power, but because of its organizational tools, in that it was organized into 7 major points. These points were the reasons on why to bring an end to the war, but this really showcases the fact that all of his speeches were organized and well put together, emphasizing main points so that the listeners would understand what he wanted to convey. The last one is of King's notable but often overlooked works was his acceptance speech for his Nobel Prize Award. This one is not often brought up, but it was a very persuasive and powerful speech, although often overlooked. Dr. King's speaking style is evidenced through his use of content and delivery. He's known partly as a great speaker because of his strategic use of both content and delivery. Dr. King used heavy imagery in his speeches, and he often broke his speeches into 2 or even 3 emphasized main points, keeping them very well organized. This was a pattern throughout most of his speeches. They were all generally broken down into 2 or 3 main parts. As for his delivery, King employed the use of hand gestures, pauses, verbal pauses, and changing in volume to emphasize the main points he wanted to make, and he also chose key places to deliver his speeches. For example, the Lincoln Center, when he delivered his "I Have a Dream" speech, he used location to his advantage when delivering his speeches. In particular, his speaking style is particularly well displayed in his famous I Have a Dream speech. According to Presentation Magazine, this speech employs the use of many literary techniques, those techniques including imagery, rhythm, and a very heavy use of alliteration and repetition. These literary techniques are used to emphasize his main point and to create the emotion and drama that his audience feels when he speaks. This particular speech also is a great example of his sermon-like style, which would come from his background in theology. It's the speech falling into two parts, each with one main point and a focus, followed with all the literary techniques in order to convey that focus. This speech is delivered in the dramatic spot of the Lincoln Memorial, which adds drama and emotion to his speech, and his passionate hand gestures and high voice volume help to make this speech powerful and moving. In conclusion, it is easy to see why Martin Luther King Jr. is considered to be one of the greatest orators of all time, having given several of the greatest recorded speeches in history. King's speeches literally led a movement across the nation against injustice and inequality through his speeches and through a strategic and powerful speaking style and organizational tools. Not only did his gifts of public speaking affect and direct the movement of an entire nation, but King's mastery of literary techniques and passionate delivery is still studied and used as examples of exemplary public speaking today. Thank you.